fell in love with it. We fell in love with the book. And the first time we read it, it was like, we have to make this film.
People, when they finish the book, it haunts them, it hangs with them, it resonates, and that's what I think we are here.
And action!
This is one of those films which has been such a joy to make and yet is almost entirely undefinable.
It's science fiction and it's about monsters and there's a war between humans and monsters, but it goes deeper than that.
And basically we bought the rights off him and have been developing for nearly 12 years.
It was a chance meeting with a friend in Berlin in the film festival. He was talking to us about this wonderful novel that he had read and that he was actually obtaining the rights. But he said that he thought that it would be a difficult one for him to do with the situation that he had at the time. And so, of course, we looked at each other, Mark and I, and we said, well, we should read this book, and we read the book, and that was it. The rest is history.
El fet de que jo sigui antropòleg em va ajudar molt a escriure La Pell Freda. Entre altres coses perquè, encara que sembli estrany, una de les coses que més em va inspirar el relat va ser les meves experiències a la República Democràtica del Congo. Jo als anys 90 estava al centre d'Àfrica com a antropòleg, estudiant els pigmeus, que és el que han de fer tots els antropòlegs, és a dir, estudiant la diferència humana, però al mateix temps em vaig trobar amb una guerra civil espantosa, on la gent es mataven entre ells per diferències absolutament insignificants, oi?
It's a very good read, but it's a very difficult book to
bring to the screen, yeah, to adapt.
How we humans face things we don't know and creatures we haven't seen. I think it's gonna recall so many things. The way we've acted during history with communities.
És una història on, per sobre del gènere, per sobre dels monstres, per sobre dels elements fantàstics, del que realment estem parlant és de l'alteritat, de la nostra relació amb l'altre.
That thing about holding the mirror up to the human condition, and that through that, the resonance of the story will resonate through, and that people will recognize the humanity, both good and bad, that I believe is on the pages of the book.
We're all able to do good and to do bad, to go good or to go evil, and how all our fears and all our fragility makes us monsters sometimes.
I de com considerem a l'enemic com un monstre, quan en realitat el més probable és que els nostres pitjors enemics siguin persones exactament igual que nosaltres.
There's your island. Look, you see it? We have to weigh anchor well out. The reef is not negotiable. What are you running from?
Action, thriller, horror on one side of the genre scale, and then on the other it's a silent, humanist drama of identity and solitude and romance and passion and love. And normally you say that in interviews for films to try and make a generic genre piece sound exciting. It's about the everyman, he's like you and me and everything. And you sort of blow it up into whole loads of huge scales, but with this one, it's genuinely odd in such a wonderfully glorious way.
Action. use your knife. Don't waste ammunition.
Look at what we've done.
Always wanted to do a real, truthful adaptation of the novel, as opposed to a filmic version or a script or on the subject.
Cut. One more, please. And I would love you to start with your hand here on the plank. Keep looking at the vidora and action. Xavier came on board 5 years ago?
Yeah.
5, 6 years ago?
Yeah.
I started to work on Colskin in 2011. Very long process because you have to define exactly what the creature have to look like. So for the character of Aneris, for example, it took us between 2 and 3 years to define exactly what we wanted to do.
Such a passion. He's like the biggest fan of whatever he does because his investment is just beyond excellent. And still, he has that confidence of creating this open forum and exploration within that. And it's, you know, it's a tough shoot. It's a tough schedule, and it's but it's got within it such incredible freedom.
We felt he was the right director of the film, so we held out, we waited, you know, and we kept on working the script with him.
And they give me the script, and then it takes us more or less 5 years to be able to make it. But all along these 5 years, we were scouting everywhere in Iceland, in Spain, in Lanzarote, to find the perfect place to tell this story.
Originally, this film, Denise and I, when we read the book, we did an atmospheric pilgrimage around Iceland, which is the place we felt was the right location for the film. So when the whole process of pre-production started and we started involving all the other departments, it was visual effects that came, who actually had been shooting out there on Game of Thrones, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
And they said that it was impossible to shoot. It was so cold and it was so difficult. And the fact that the creatures are wearing these very thin suits and that, you know, they're basically naked, he said, it's going to be a nightmare. So we took all this into consideration. We said, well, where can we shoot it? So someone said, try Canary Islands.
We are in Lanzarote actually. So right behind here we can see our main set, which is the lighthouse where all the story happened. And to find this place, we took, as I was saying you, between 4 and 3 years to find the best place ever. And we are really close to the National Park of Timonfaya in Lanzarote, which is a volcano, 300 years old volcano. So it's all lava field around you, and the idea was to match as much as we can an island in Antarctica. And the first scouting we did was in Iceland. And in Iceland you have exactly the same kind of location. So here it's more dramatic, and it's why we decided to shoot here.
Every frame you make is absolutely stunning, because, I mean, look around.
Being here even for a short period of time, you start to realize, you start to see the myriad of colors, and you start to see that this is the formation of a new landscape from what was a terrifically violent sort of geological act. And I think that also invests into the movie. The drama of nature, the seas, the skies, the sunsets, the sunrises.
Pretending to be cold has been one of the hardest challenges on this film. He runs around a lot and he's very scared a lot at the time. So if we pretend that all the sweat is just his anxiety, then maybe that will help.
It's hard, it is brutal, and it will hurt you, it will kill you. And so self-protection, we're cosseted ourselves off. And yet here, there's a sense of feeling incredibly alive.
I think your imagination and your mind sort of fills in those gaps. I think you think of isolation as cold. I think through the way it's been shot by Daniel, I think that kind of bleakness will come shining through.
But here the big challenge in this movie is to somehow create a world of its own so that it's a mysterious sci-fi adventure of a place that you've never been, and yet still capture the reality of this incredible land that it's so raw and ferocious, but at the same time peaceful. And so that combination of elements, that it feels like you could be here forever and be at peace, but at the same time there's always some kind of mystery, something hiding in the darkness. That's what we're trying to do in the movie.
There's no trees around here, but given time, given a millennia, this place could be well forested. Because if you look closely enough, it's all there.
It's Iceland with sun.
And in fact, we realized that we needed to build the lighthouse because in actual fact the lighthouse is a character in the film, has its own dynamic, and of course there's a lot of action inside the lighthouse. So what we did is we built the full-size lighthouse here in Lanzarote, half-size one for the stunts, and yes, we've got another one in the studio in Madrid. 3.
Denise came up with the idea of bringing Gil Parrondo on board. I mean, Gil Parrondo is probably, I'm very sorry to say this, but it's probably his last film. He's a 2-time Academy Award winner, and it is an absolute luxury.
And he's 95 next month, in fact. I had my misgivings when I gave him the script. To give this slightly erotic film script to a 94-year-old man was quite an interesting exercise. But he read it. He said, Denise, he said, I'm not sure about this. Are you sure you want to do this? And we said, totally, absolutely. Read the book. He read the book and he said, yes, no, it stays with you. I do understand it. And then from then on, that was it. He spoke to Xavier. He understood what we needed, where we were going to do the action. I mean, he is a legend in his own right. He's designed films. He understands totally what the needs are. So, he's an old school production designer, which means that he actually designs something for the director, not just because he thinks it's going to be beautiful, which is what we needed.
És molt curiós perquè en el món creatiu, quan diverses ments positives es posen en marxa, unes es complementen a les altres i el resultat acaba amplificant la idea original.
London is the best place you can get to for many things, but of course recording music. You have the best studios, the best orchestras, the best performers. We needed this warm sound, this warm, as I was saying before, emotional kind of not only the music, but the recording, the process of recording, the studio, the violin, all of these aspects is necessary to get this kind of score.
So the click stops. Yeah. Is that all right? It's okay. The fact the click stops is fine, Alistair, if you just continue. Keep going.
Understanding the story, the characters, what the director wants to achieve with the expression of the film. the color, the performances, the illumination, you know. All of these things change to Xavier and me, our criteria, our initial criteria. The film tells us that we need more emotional music for the film. Sorry, there's a mistake. The note for basses is E.
I stand alone and think, to love and fame, to nothingness do sink.
Merry Christmas!
I think we record a lot of music, too much, I think, for one session. We're happy, everybody's sounding great, great performances, great instruments, great technicians, engineering.
Two of the key elements in the film, you know, prosthetics and visual effects, you know, were, you know, key to the film. And we knew this from the beginning, so, you know, they came on board very early as well. And, we've been developing, you know, the creatures and developing things to make sure you get them right, so, you know, that when the audience sees it, they don't feel, you know, deceived that, you know, we haven't done.
They're supposed to be very, very different from human beings. They are something different, but in some way they're also linked together with the human beings, so they're not that different. And also we had to start with there are many creatures in the movie that are real actors and stuntmen with prosthetic makeup, so we couldn't go very far away from that. But we also wanted to make things that were not completely human, so we had to walk in this very thin line between something that's human and something that's not human at all.
The most difficult scene is when the toads try to climb the lighthouse, and we try to do it without cables because the toads have 6 hours of makeup and it's very difficult to hide the harness and the wire system.
3, 2, 1, action!
Good. Very good.
There is a scene when toad is climbing the lighthouse rounded. I think was one of the best with the falling, direct climbing, shooting, fall.
There is a very important scene in the movie. The scene happens, you know, in underwater in the ground of the ocean, with a big ship. It's very difficult to shoot that in real. You have to make a very big set, you know, underwater. we decided to make some tests in order to try a different technique.
Here, for this set, for example, we made this is supposed to look like the bottom of the ocean. This is going to be like dry for wet, so they're actually going to make this be filled with water so I can see in the bottom of the ocean.
The technique is called more or less dry for water. The idea is to shoot on stage in a normal stage on air.
And so we filled it up with dust on the ground, so it makes it look like the particulates you would get out of when somebody walks on the bottom of the ocean.
To put a lot of particles, a lot of things, a lot of different tricks in order to create the illusion that you are underwater, inside the water. The main characters of the movie are the hordes of toads, and this is the big challenge. We have to create hundreds of toads that are attacking the lighthouse, and this is the most difficult thing of the movie.
My approach was to be as much as close to the reality. So I talked with scientists to ask them how human beings could evolve in a water environment like this, and how they could evolve also in Antarctica, because the action takes place in Antarctica. And they tell me, if human beings has to be a mammifer living in the water, they need to have branchies, they have to be designed as a whale or a dolphin, because they are a mammifer living in the water. So we take example on dolphins and whale to create an iris and shape this into a human beings. And it was quite challenging to make it real.
I have to go through many hours of prosthetics makeup. It depends on what we're shooting. It's longer or shorter, but it's about from 3 to 8 hours of makeup every day, plus taking it off, which is 1-2 hours more.
It's very complex design because she's really flat and not wrinkles to be able to hide anything, no dirty over her. She has to be always beautiful, and that's very, very complex. And we have to make the full body. In some moments she's wearing a pullover, and other times she's naked. Not the actress is not really naked. We fake that, so we have to make the full body.
Imagine a whole movie where an actor doesn't have dialogue per se, and is wearing full body prosthetics. And I know that she's done a lot of work with anthropologists and with movement, and you feel that work come through, and she brings such an incredible energy to it.
The inspiration for that movie is few fishes, and especially sharks and dolphins and some amphibians. But mostly the biggest deal was to make a female that was looking really appealing, really sexy, to be different to humans. Because even when she's in grey color or with gills or with membranes on the finger, but she have to keep being sexy. And for the men, they will have to be aggressive, because you don't understand that they are pretty similar till the end of the movie. So we need to make these two different chains.
It just shows you the power of the ability that humans have to read people before anything is said, or even when they speak different languages, or you know, they're not understood in conventional ways, that you can still get through. And you watch children playing with children from the other side of the world, they'll find their own language, they find a common ground, they find a way, and it's done in body language and physical attitudes and all this. So it's amazing to watch her.
I think this is what the movie talks about. She is a person, even though she's not human. She's a person. and she has feelings, and she goes through the same things we all do. She's afraid. She loved.
Trying to pretend you're actually in a world with this blue, subterranean, sexy fish toad thing is really peculiar. And we worked through the script from Frome's perspective and how he viewed the creature, Nerys, and how it starts off with terror because they're there to kill him, and then it starts sort of being intrigued that this thing could have evolved through natural selection, and ends up then sort of seeing it sort of as a friend, as a pet, and then it sort of shifts into something more seductive and more sexual, and then ends up with something more respectful. And it was about ironing through these developmental points of the character relationship.
You have to get inside these characters' heads and you have to explain what they're thinking, because they are very lonely characters that are on the island for a year.
I loved the script much more when I did that, because I think that's what it talks about. That when you don't close your mind and you just face anyone that is in front of you the same way you would face yourself, we are all the same, really.
Crec que el missatge de fons del relat és aquest, no? Que el nostre pitjor enemic pot ser exactament igual com nosaltres i que això ens hauria de fer reflexionar sobre tots els conflictes humans. No el que passi en una remota illa al sud de Sud-àfrica, no, sinó aquesta idea, que és la que té el potencial del relat. Però pel que fa a la indústria és una cosa que em sobrevola i amb la qual tinc un contacte més aviat secundari. I està bé que sigui així, no? Perquè així, com deia abans, la de gent que té feina. Gràcies a que algú estava mig pirat al Congo i se li va ocórrer una novel·la plena de monstres, no? És el món en el que vivim, molt estrany, si t'ho pares a pensar.